I've been through a battle. Well, I kind of have been through a battle in a way because I just came back from the gym not too long ago, which is why I'm late. Of course, mountain time, I would be right on time. But there you are then. So welcome to another reading. I hope you got a chance to watch the service from Creative Life today. It kind of cut off at the end. Actually, it cut off, I think, during my announcements, which in a sense is no big deal. But in another sense, well, depressed people with the announcements. I came back on after about 5 minutes, so there was an interruption, but it was right at the end of the service, so most of it is there. The talk is there, and also some of the most important points there, in a way. The talk, that's one thing that's important. Second thing, let me see. Daniel Mercadal, one of our practitioners and former board chair, read 2 poems. One of them for sure is on there. The first one that she read was about the beating heart. We had Kimberly today, who was singing, and she kind of improvised. She actually sang a chant from the Lakota people, she accompanied it with the drum, and that was right at the beginning before the first meditation. It is worth watching, and Reverend Jesse's talk, as I said, was pretty good, and I'm not sure when it came back on, so Daniel's second poem may or may not have been on there. Michael Levinson, one of our practitioners who was in from New Mexico, gave the benediction and treatment, and it was an excellent one. Reverend Lisa does it every week. She does a really good job, but it's always refreshing when somebody else does it, right? Somebody else does the announcements. It's refreshing because it's not me. And Reverend Lisa today did the opening meditation, and I think it's good to change things up. Not everybody there agrees with me, but I think it's good to change things up now and again. One thing that did not change from yesterday is the fact that we still do not have the digital version. Reverend Jesse got a hold of the person who is in charge of the magazine, and she is sending him a digital version. I don't know why we don't have the digital version up and running, but we don't. Some of the wholesale copies never got sent out, and it's apparently we have a company that sends them out for us to people like bookstores, churches, spiritual centers. I don't know why some of them didn't go out, but anyway, who knows? Bottom line is, I'm here right now to do another reading. As you know, it's Reverend Raymond Anderson who's written this month's readings. I tried to put in a text to somebody not too long ago the fact that it was Raymond, and of course autocorrect kicked in and changed it to Raymond, and I went out before I could stop it, so I had to send a reminder about that. But anyway, enough from me. Today's reading is probably more geared towards people who already are familiar with New Thought, with unity, with divine science, and in our particular case, of course, with science of mind or religious science, same thing. Or as I said, I wish I could remember the name of the Japanese one because they're an important New Thought group in the world. So it's probably really geared, or it could be geared to anybody who is on a mystical path or in a mystical tradition. So if you're not, then just bear with us and just translate it into what works for you. If you want to think of the divine as the field, the quantum field, that's fine too. It's whatever works for you. But one thing is true in this universe. I'm making comments before I do the reading. One thing I believe is true because I've experienced it so much. Everything's interconnected. I mean, things happen which are not coincidences. They're just not. The math would just not work. It would be just way off the scale of probability. So I believe the whole universe is interconnected. Science now is coming along with the idea that everything really is interconnected. So think of this reading in those terms, if you like. And it's actually called, I'm going to try and hold it up. Oh, and one of my friends did say, you can actually see this the right way around. That's what she told me this afternoon. So you'll see the title for this month's reading is Holy Boldness, and Reverend Raymond Anderson is going right along with that. So here we go. I'm holding it up because when I looked at the reading from yesterday, I was looking down, and I don't like it when I'm looking down. I didn't like to watch it, so I'm trying my best to look up. It's easier when it's digital. Toni Morrison, who is an American author and editor and publisher, I think is she a publisher? I'm not sure, but she's an author and an editor, and she's written novels. She says, you have to practice God. You have to think God carefully. And that's in a publication called Paradise, which is apparently a quite well-known one. I didn't know it, but when I Googled it, I found out it's quite well-known, actually. And this is from Mary Psalms, and I'm going to make a comment on this in the reading afterwards. So bear with me, okay? Bear with me. All sacred scriptures have proclaimed the unity of life, that every person is a center of God consciousness. This is the meaning of the mystical marriage, or the union of the soul with its source. That's capital S. Jesus boldly proclaimed that he was one with the Father. This is the basis of all New Thought teaching, the spiritual union of all life. And that's from What Religious Science Teaches. And this is Reverend Raymond. He says, bold, adjective, 1, of a person, action, or idea, showing an ability to take risks, confident and courageous. These are dictionary definitions, obviously. 2, of a color or design, having a strong or vivid appearance. A few synonyms for bold are confident, heroic, courageous, brave, audacious, and valiant. And if you read a lot of medieval literature, you'll realize that those words come up a lot. Then he asks us, now pause and ask yourself, where am I not giving myself permission to be bold in my life? Where am I playing it safe and trying to blend in to such a degree that I'm almost unnoticeable or invisible? In doing so, what am I practicing? What am I being? As we consider this, let's also consider the ways that many use boldness as a performative act rather than as an authentic state of being. With little effort, we can identify famous people and people we know in our communities who use boldness as a shield to hide behind. They put themselves in the spotlight, on the news, on boards, on committees, and so on, to be visible but not vulnerable, to be seen while remaining unseen, to be vocal while being silent, wearing a mask and feigning boldness. Oh, they seem, where am I going? Oh, they seem terrified of the trust that true boldness exemplifies and demands of them. In what ways can we individually and collectively begin to invite boldness into more and more areas of our lives? Not the fake facade of boldness, but rather the real, audacious, and vulnerable boldness that is the expression of our divine magnificence, a prophetic boldness. Going back to the Holmes quote where he talks about all religions have proclaimed that humans are a center of God consciousness. Well, Holmes did lots of different things, and at different times in his life, he expressed things in different ways. And at times he was very specific, but at other times, like here, he was wont for generalizations. He would use generalizations a lot. And here he's using a generalization. I mean, you know, not every single religion proclaims that humans are a center of God consciousness. Certainly all the mystical traditions do. And he quotes Jesus quite accurately as saying, I am the Father of one. But Jesus also, supporting what Reverend Remont and Holmes are saying, also said, he is in me and I am in you, and you are in me and I am in you. In other words, there's nowhere where the divine ends and Jesus began, and nowhere where Jesus ends and we begin. So, and therefore, nowhere where God ends and there is oneness. And what Reverend Remont is telling us is, it's real easy to be bold and bombastic in public. And it's real easy to say nothing without seeming to say a lot. But it's hard to actually let our true feelings and beliefs out in public. That's what he's saying. And that's what he's encouraging us to do. If this is what you believe, proclaim it. You know, in New Thought, we believe that God is all there is, that everything that exists, or the divine, everything that exists is an expression of the divine, and that there's no separation between everything that's been created and that which created it. So in other words, the divine isn't some being on a throne sat somewhere starting to create things or creating things 6,000 years ago, or depending on your belief system, so billions of years ago. And just bringing things into being that are separate from it. But obviously, if the divine was all there was, then where did all this stuff come from except from the divine? Or if that's not true, then the divine isn't all-powerful, all-knowing, etc., etc. Because if there was other stuff out there, then there is opposition. And it's a conundrum. And remember, at the end of the day, we only produce models of how we think reality is. Our current model of the universe, the Big Bang, is it true? We don't know, but it's the best idea we have. Back in the days of chapter 1 in the Judeo-Christian Islamic Bible, which used to be called the Old Testament and the Hebrew Scriptures, they talked about creation in a completely different way, because that was their understanding of them. Their science was, and their astronomy was, compared with us today, primitive. Just like ours will be primitive compared with people in another few thousand years. But I think the message here is quite simple. It's been put in other simple ways. Put your money where your mouth is. In other words, be honest about your belief system. Be honest. But also, remember, in these times of division, you have to be careful. Yes, it's good to be bold and express your ideas, but you have to be careful about where you do it and in what scenario you do it, because you've not, in my opinion, you've not got to be stupidly bold. There is a balance. There's a fine balance. The affirmation, which I'll read to you, is, I live, move, and have my being as the bold incarnation of the divine, or God, that I am. And that's really all I've got to say about it. So whatever your belief system is, that he's saying, you know, don't be afraid to show it. But by the same token, be prepared to listen to other people's belief system. Faiths Together, the group in the Woodlands in Spring here that I belong to, is composed of lots of different Christian faiths, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, New Thought, Unitarianism, Baha'i, right across the board. We don't try and convert each other. We respect each other's beliefs. I don't believe what they believe entirely, and they don't believe what I believe entirely, but we all do believe one thing. that there's a source for everything in this universe, and that source is good, that source is love, and that is what we should project to the world. Hope you like these readings. Please give us a like. I apologize. I got feedback today as well that on one of my readings, the sound was scratchy. I apologize for that. I don't know which one it was. I'll go back and have a look. I do respond to your requests and your comments when I can. And often I forget. When I for the first 2 years that or 3 years I was doing this, everything I broadcast was through Facebook. It was Facebook Live. And I linked in some of my other Facebook pages with it. It was all through Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. And then when I started using Streamlabs, it's going out to lots of different places, different Facebook groups, Instagram, YouTube. So I really don't know what medium people are watching this on, and I have been assuming it's through Creative Life Spiritual Center. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center. If you want to know more about us, go to our Facebook page, go to our webpage, creativelife.org, and you'll find more about us. So I apologize if I've confused people, but that's who we are. We are a New Thought community in Spring, Texas. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. Namaste.